Hello. This is an urgent message from the Galactic Federation. Welcome to Agent Paranormal. Oh my God, do I look? What the hell is... Welcome to the Disruption Network and Agent Paranormal.
Your
Phone's on.
Pete, what's the thing coming off the side of your helmet there? Is that a antenna, or is that just the way the aluminum foil end up coming?
It feels...
So
they
like
all laughed at me.
A death ray thing that you can point and...
Me, yes.
Oh!
People are probably, what the hell are we in store for tonight? I don't know. I was like getting ready to go to bed, and Kevin's like, get the tinfoil and come on down. I'm like, yeah. What are we talking about? UFOs or something tonight? Or, UFOs? It's the Disruption Network. We're Agent Paranormal. We're very serious, professionally trained paranormal investigators who would like to come into your home and investigate you and your activity.
Or eat your food.
Especially if you make good tomato pie or cookies. Other things. So, we have Travis filling in for Valiant Thor, because I guess Valiant Thor stood us up again.
Again.
Someday you'll wish you came on, and we could have made you famous. And we got Rich. Rich is with us. Rich is a little under the weather today.
Yeah, I feel great.
Central New York and that weather. Then we have Kevin. Kevin, did we disclaim them yet that I'm professionally stupid and may say something that's going to offend half the people watching? I mean, let me get rid of this stupid thing. I don't.
Are you gonna throw up the warning thing?
Yep.
This is probably a good time.
Yep.
Throw her up there. I hope you all had enough time to read that. I got to the first three letters.
Well, I threw the warning up before we even had the intro come in.
Okay. It was probably a good idea because, yeah, we go there. Yeah, we do.
Especially tonight.
Yeah. Well, as soon as Pete walked into the room carrying the tinfoil helmet, I knew that was going to be that episode. And Kevin, in his right mind, knew it too as well and grabbed that warning sign right out of there. Said, I think I'm going to put this up first.
Well, we were
on the show, so...
Oh, my God, do I not have hair left up there?
First time, every time with Pete.
To the left. Swipe it to the left, Pete.
No, wait, which?
Swipe it to the left. There we go.
I don't like that beard. I'm going to have to get rid of the beard. I don't like the beard.
We're all wearing hats, except Todd. Yeah, Todd's here too. Did you introduce Todd? You didn't introduce Todd.
Hi, Todd.
Todd's over there, kind of. He's got an Agent Paranormal T-shirt on though. He's kind of walking around,
a nice one.
Tidying up the stuff. I think he's listening to music because he's ignoring us.
No, he's listening to us.
He's listening to us. Oh, his little fancy little AirPods in his ear.
He did wave with one finger.
Yeah, the one finger wave. Woo! So we are back, man. It's still March, but it's looking an awful lot like April. I think spring is like officially here. I'm not discounting the fact that we might not get another snowstorm because that's upstate New York, but a lot of fun stuff coming, and hopefully, with everyone getting back in there and we're doing events and all this other stuff coming up, hopefully the paranormal will become front and center like it used to be all the time.
I know that was a bit sucky. We had to delay our event last weekend for the random snow
Random. That
thingy.
was feet of snow that dumped on us.
Yeah, the big snowstorm. So, for those of you who've been on Facebook and saw the event we had posted for the Fulton County Museum, that has been rescheduled to April 16th. I don't know if tickets are still available because they sold it out pretty quick. Essentially, we are going to probably end up going back there again in the fall, based on the fact that we put it up there and 2 weeks later it was sold out. Usually we get invited back for things like that, So
maybe if you're interested, reach out to them. Maybe they'll make a ticket for you.
Yeah, make you a ticket. Like Willy Wonka, you just got to get this candy bar, and in there is an Agent Paranormal ticket to the Fulton County Museum.
Paranormal ticket.
There you go. So, all right, so let's just get weird. I mean, we're going to get weird, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're here tonight, Kevin, because we're going to get weird.
That's why we're here.
Okay.
That's why we have tinfoil hats that Travis has now absconded from Pete.
Right. So we've talked about different things we wanted to talk about, and Kevin came up with the idea, let's talk about UFOs and, with everything that's going on in Ukraine. And by the way,
Warning.
Love and support to all those people in Ukraine and what they're going through. It's a terrible thing that they have to deal with.
Warning.
So with that being said, there's been some interesting and very weird stories coming out of this invasion. And some of them are on the brink of the extraterrestrial. That's where we come in. So let's talk. Let's talk about this. Kevin, you got some good articles. There was one that you were showing us about the UFOs were firing on the Russian convoy of tanks.
Yeah, so basically the first report I saw was last week, and somebody just threw it up on Facebook, and there was a Russian convoy of tanks that was heading towards some Ukrainian troops, and they said out of nowhere there was some UFOs that were seen flying above them, and then an unnatural lightning storm that caused all the tanks to basically erupt into flames. I actually looked this up, and there's at least 3 other articles. One, I didn't really, feel like it was something that we could say that it was real, but the other 2 were, more along the lines of legitimate news articles.
So none were the National Enquirer or the Sun, right?
One was the Sun.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, it's the Sun.
Yeah.
But then you get like Daily News, and then there's one other one.
Has Weekly World News confirmed it yet?
Not that I've seen.
I used to love Weekly World News, but according to the movie Men in Black, that's the truth. So if it appears in there, it's...
So that kind of got me into another, rabbit hole of, well, let's look into a lot of extraterrestrial visitations during wartime, and there was a lot. There's actually quite a few articles from history.com or the History Channel that are talking about people and soldiers seeing things during World War II, the Korean War. So I mean, we've all have heard the theories about aliens coming to visit around the atomic age in World War II. So I'd say this is definitely something to.
My timeline's off here, but was it Foo Fighters? Was the World War II?
That was the Foo Fighters,
which was the big start of the UFO thing. If you want,
they were the ones that saw the glowing orange orbs in the sky.
So, as your resident conspiracist, I should probably explain basically. UFO is the acronym of an unidentified flying object. Understand that UFO and alien are not synonymous. Mm-hmm. It just means it's unidentified. So you're looking at something, and I don't know, it could be swamp gas reflecting off of Venus, causing a hallucination induced by bad chicken. That's a UFO. alien life forms
That's a direct quote from Men in Black.
are completely something different. Like Valiant Thor. Obviously, that's why he's not here, because if he showed up, then we would know for sure that there's real
Like
aliens.
proof.
Or anybody from Melmac, if you're out there listening. I mean, I don't know where that ET guy's from.
Nanu.
Yes.
I don't think you want to. The number of cats you have around your house, I don't think you need
No.
Elf.
Candy would not like Elf.
Gordon.
It's just like people. It's just like people say paranormal is ghost. No, they're not synonymous. They're two separate things. So. Then there's underwater unidentified flying objects. There's all types of caca. Okay, sorry, Kevin.
No. Continue. So let's talk about World War II and the atomic age. You know
What a blast!
You know
soon?
a little bit more about that than
soon?
I do, Pete. So.
Man, did that one crash in a flash. I wasn't there for World War II.
Yeah, you were.
Well, according to Shalimar, I was a Nazi, but that's
Shalimar?
when you pay anybody $110 for a past life regurgitation, you never know what you got.
Please stand by.
Had nothing to do with that. She also told me that I was a handsome buccaneer. I don't even know what that means.
You're a swashbuckler. Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing.
Beach of the Caribbean.
Pizza of the Caribbean?
Pizza? I know, we're trying to be serious, but we're being...
So
World War II.
Let's go back to World War II.
World War II.
The beginning of the atomic age. They're working on the Manhattan Project. They start blowing up the first nuclear weapons out west. And right around that time is when the first, extraterrestrial visits start happening. One of the theories we've always discussed, and we can only call them theories because who the heck knows, is it's actually the extraterrestrials have been watching us and monitoring us and noticing that we are starting to harness a power that's destructive to the world. So they kind of are coming down to say, hey, cut the crap.
But that's the thing. They're not actually coming down and saying anything.
Well,
They're just
to us.
being cited, I mean, there's another article, just to jump forward in time, and we'll get back, but there's another article I read online regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where this type of activity, war, is what's keeping the aliens from making themselves known. There's this ufologist, I think his name is Nick Pope. I was reading an article on how true it is, but he said that this is the reason why that the UFOs haven't really made themselves known to us, because here we are fighting, and I don't know how they can sense it or whatever, but this is why they've prolonged their. It's kind of like they're feeling us out, basically, to see what type of species of people we are, and obviously it's quite plain to me that we're war hungry and we're disruptive, we're volatile, and we like to fight. So maybe that is why they're like, I don't know. I mean, because if you go to the War of the Worlds path, they're here to destroy us. But if you go the other path that we talk about a lot, is that they're peaceful beings and that they want to enlighten us, or they're kind of like they're watching over us like we're children. And they're trying to see what we're going to do. They give us this ability, knowledge, or whatever, and they want to see what we do with it. And then once we can prove to them that we get to a certain point, then they'll take us to the next level. Pete and I we've
like
actually
Star
had
Trek.
this.
Star Trek.
We've had this discussion at length about this. That it's almost like they're not ready. They're not ready. Is in regards to the human race. They still got to work out things, and then if we can get together and solve problems and crises and things like that, then they would basically enlighten us and make themselves known. So now jumping back to the atomic age, where Kevin had us. So do you think that's maybe the same thing that was going on? There was a lot of volatility going on World War II, and they're kind of watching us the whole time to see what we do, how we do things. And the atomic bomb. I mean, that was a big one. I wonder what was going on when we let it loose on, Hiroshima? What happened there?
Nagasaki.
Come on, they must have been watching that. That was huge.
That was the August summer tour of 45, yes.
Yeah, so... But,
And not too long after those those 2 bombs were dropped on those cities is when the Roswell crashes happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is starting to be correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it was right after that time is we had a dramatic change in technology on Earth.
Huge jump, yeah.
So that's one of the theories is they came down. They're like, okay, you figured this out, but you got to stop that and start working on trying to progress yourself as a society.
Right.
And, the theory was that they actually gave us some things for us to have, and they say, oh, tell them your scientists came up with this.
Right. Because for like hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, we progressed very slow. Mm-hmm. Very, very slow. Then all of a sudden it was like right around that era, all of a sudden we jumped up within like 65 years. We took like a humongous leap in technology. I mean, just boom. There's a couple things that were like the transistor and a few other things that just boom. And we all of a sudden now we're going to the point now where we're creating virtual worlds and everything. I mean,
that's what was weird. It was like 60 years from the point where we were riding horses for transportation to the point where we stepped foot on the moon.
Exactly.
That's a huge jump in technology.
Right.
That's
So can I get your all opinions? Let's go.
That's what we're here for.
Let's go way, way, way back before World War II. Let's go back to Egypt. Let's go back to Samaria. Have you guys heard of the Anunnaki?
Yes.
Yes, they're in Antarctica.
So are they still here?
I watch Ancient Aliens.
Yes. They're still in Antarctica.
Are they still here? Are they controlling what's going on now? Are there now other races trying to help us overthrow the Anunnaki? So we go there with the Egyptians. We'll go back to World War II. Following World War II, well, let's talk just before the end. February of 45.
World War II. This is during wartime.
No.
There's plenty of wars during ancient Egypt as well.
Well,
but this sets you up.
312 AD was the first documented account.
Yep.
Constantine I, the Roman emperor, saw. The theory is he had a vision. They said he saw something in the sky. Some people said it was Jesus Christ or God trying to guide him, and there was another theory that it was actually aliens trying to guide him. It was the Battle of Milvian Bridge, and he took the advice he got from that vision, and he actually won that battle. So, I mean, that's 312 AD.
That's also an important date because that was the end of the original Catholic Church. That's when it became the Christian Church. But that's another conspiracy for another show.
I mean, technically, if you watch, I love Ancient Aliens because these guys are like doctors and authors, and they talk about all these things. They go deep into all the different facets of alien technology, presence, and they formulated some pretty good hypotheses that this is just as normal as getting up every day, reading the newspaper, and going to work, that the aliens are here and that they've influenced the things that we've done. I mean, going back to Egypt, they have tons and tons of of stuff on the walls showing people from the sky, and there's some of them they actually show looks like people with spacesuits on and stuff. I mean,
cell phones.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so. I mean, maybe they had that technology then, but we were just like infants still. We would have not been able to. I think we had to get to a certain point almost before we could embrace anything that they gave us. I mean, for crying out loud, we were making chariots and wearing giant headgear and using spears. I mean, to give us something with electronics or anything would it'd be a definite fail. So it's almost like they've been patient in timing this out for a long, long time. And then when all of a sudden we became a super violent species, we're like, all right, well, they've always been violent, right? Now they've had this thing called atomic weapons, and they're wiping out people. Then it's like maybe we ought to intervene and give them something. Because right after that, it's kind of after World War II, we had a couple small things, like Vietnam and Korea. But that was kind of like us intervene to try to keep democracy.
There was reports in Korea. There was actually Korean troops that actually watched almost the same exact thing as the Foo Fighters saw in World War II. But they called them orange jack-o'-lanterns that flew from over the hilltops and used these direct air beams of light that they said, and it was just causing artillery to just explode.
Well, do you think maybe it could have been something that we were testing out that we got our hands on?
It's a possibility.
That was like,
But then we go back to, was it something that we figured out or something that was given to us?
Is they're saying that the Nazis actually developed like flying saucers.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of their secret, aircraft that they had, and they were developing them. And they're still, they continued to develop them afterwards. But like you said, is it something they came up with, or was it technology that was given to them?
The Flying Bell, which was the Nazi design, February, March of 1945, a lot of this is starting to come out now. Hitler was waiting for someone to come help him. And they believed that Hitler was waiting for whatever group of aliens was supposed to come help him win the war. There's a weird alternate history where they took him out of Germany. And they all went to Antarctica. Following the war in 1946, Admiral Byrd took, I forgot how many men and ships up to Antarctica with a couple other nations, and we lost, apparently, up against whatever species that's living in Antarctica, and that's why we're not allowed to go there. Some believe that may have been the, what was the race Hitler was looking for? Aryans.
Aryan race.
They thought those were the giant humanoids. So you had, our own Navy was defeated, apparently, trying to defeat these things. This stuff actually is all resurging now with what's going on in history. People are starting to talk about this. People are talking about weird things. Yes. How much of that was our technology? I think that's what you're watching in the Ukraine right now. That's my personal opinion. When we were kids, all of the sightings, those were the F-117s. That was the stealth technology. That was the 70s stuff. These were all the UFO sightings people were seeing in the late 70s, early 80s, because they were flying them over America. Ooh, what the hell are these? What the hell is this? And then all of a sudden, Desert Storm happened, and we have triangular-shaped airplanes. We have flying wings. So to continue on with that, the next generation was what they called the TR-3B, which NASA was working on. These are your zero-gravity, larger-scale triangle craft. Now, I don't know if you want to get into this photo or if you want me to not tell that story, but I had a run-in, possibly, with one of these things, given where we live. We used to have a show on Tuesday nights called Paranormal Investigator Radio with... those guys used to crack me up. They're the brothers. Well, hello. Fantastic show.
Fantastic. Just a little problem. We didn't hear anything for the past 55 minutes. But I'm sure you guys did a wonderful job.
Excellent. I feel bad for them. They're finally getting back up and running. They lost everything in that big fire
yeah,
during California.
They are good dudes. But there was a lot of tech issues with. I mean, we'd play EVPs and everything. We put together a nice program, and no one would hear any of the stuff. And then people would call in. Like here, it's been a smooth transition. People call in, we get them on the show. There was they get disconnected or also it was terrible. It really
well, can you
bad.
fix it? Damned if I know, but keep going, guys. Keep going.
Fantastic.
Push on. I didn't listen to any of it, but it was a good show. Good show. So I was bringing Stephen home back to Rome, and one night we were out there, we were watching all these weird lights in the sky. Like these were like planes doing very weird things, like flying and stopping. So I got Steve home, and at one point I was coming back on the arterial section of Rome where you have the full view of pretty much all the way out towards Utica, and you can see everything in front of you. There was this gigantic, in my mind, bar of light that was out towards Utica where I was going. So as I'm going down 49, the closer I'm getting, the thing's getting bigger. It's not moving, it's just getting bigger. So finally I make the turn off onto 291, and I see the large outline of a triangle. Massive. It's about 200 feet off the ground. I get into right up the street from us, the what is that there? The Public Works building or whatever?
The DPW there?
DPW. I pull right in, slam the brakes out, I get out of my car, and it's about 200 feet up. It's just hovering there, not making any sound. Red light, green light. All of a sudden, all the lights did something like this. I saw a part of the triangle flip like this and point towards Westmoreland. Gone. So now I'm like, holy shit. I had nothing in the car. I'm going home. I go get the camera. I go get the thermal vision. And at that time, we had a very, very good thermal camera. It was a fire department grade thermal camera, head-mounted thing. It was like, what, worth $100,000 or whatever it cost? But
25 grand, I think.
I grab all this stuff. I go out. I couldn't see nothing. Nothing was... Then all of a sudden, I was on 49 again. It literally came up out of the barge canal like this, and then it started heading towards Rome. So I'm on the thing. I go after it. I get up on base. I'm stopped at one of the yield signs, and all of a sudden I just feel the rumbling, like the whole car started shaking. I look up, and you see the thing just coming slowly over the top of the car, heading out towards the runway, and I'm like, all right, baby, game on. So I take off. I get up there. So at one point I was stopped at the car. I'm like looking with the thermal camera, and then it dawned on me. I'm like, all I can imagine are these two guys are saying, yeah, ground control, someone just locked on us with thermal, and next thing I know I'm going to disappear in some fart of photon phaser or something. Like, all I was able to grab was a crappy cell phone, iPhone 4 or 5, whatever it was, picture of the damn thing. I think Kevin might have it here. What impressed me, it made no sound. And when they tell you it made no sound, it made no sound. And when it moved. Like it would just pivot, and it went towards the green light, and boom.
So
that was...
Quick question for you, Pete.
I wasn't on drugs. No.
No. Did you go home and make a mountain out of mashed potatoes?
No, I
after
did
that?
not. No.
This means something.
No, I didn't. I was actually quite worried that they were watching me at that point. Like, why is this guy following this damn thing? But
We got a picture of that?
We have a picture. We're gonna
Throw it up there.
right
Let's take a
now.
look at it. Now,
iPhone
again,
and its greatest phone technology.
you said crappy iPhone picture. Okay. Well, Pete, that is a crappy iPhone picture.
You were
Yes,
wrong.
it is.
You were not wrong.
Well,
What
if
were
you
we looking
really
at?
strain an eye, you can see the triangle shape of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that Apple has improved their phone game quite a bit since then. But back then, you could barely make out UFO, human. I mean,
Bigfoot.
what is that? So given where we live, given the research they do, given the technology, I'm guessing that's probably what's in the Ukraine right now. That's your next wave of military, fighter, bomber,
Well,
whatever.
It would make sense, because if it's that classified, we can go over, we can help out the Ukraine, and blame it on the aliens. No one would ever know.
You know, when I was pooping before I came here, and that's when I always do my best thinking, and I thought to myself, what a good game this UFO crap is. Imagine that. You can kidnap people, you can just take them, do whatever you want to them, and then blame it on something fictitious that doesn't exist. And have complete liability, and nothing will ever happen. Oh, no, the aliens took him. Just guys wearing funny suits and weird planes sticking things where things shouldn't be stuck and doing other experiments. Oh, no, those were aliens. Even though they're guys from North Dakota. I mean, you know, it's just...
They're in the butt
So
stuff.
if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're saying that you think what took out that convoy of tanks, if that is in fact a true story. Again, we're going on, you know, what we see and hear on the news, but
The hot sheets.
the hot sheets. But you think that technically could be a weapon that we have that could get in there without being detected on radar? and
I
what
believe that.
a great place to practice,
yeah.
some of the weapon system on it, right?
You
Because
don't care if
technically
it
they're not in
works?
Russia, they're in Ukraine, and the airspace is still open, right? So,
And they're a UFO.
and they're UFO, right?
So they're not really- they're not
unidentified flying
really-
object.
They're not Americans. They're
Before
UFO.
we go forward again, I just want to reiterate that these are theories of our own. We have no knowledge of anything.
You're so paranoid.
Please don't visit us.
Just, hey, they may be watching.
Script that Kevin wrote. We know nothing about it.
Bah. What's the finger? You
What?
give me the finger.
What?
Oh, no, I saw a finger. I don't know if you're speaking to me in alien sign language.
No, I was just telling everybody that it was you.
All right, so what? Okay, we're paranormal investigators, so we investigate the paranormal, which technically means not the normal, right? So UFOs can fall into that, right?
Sure.
But it's interesting because when you watch these TV shows, you've got paranormal investigators, and that's pretty much ghosts, right? Then you got Bigfoot hunters, right? They're pretty much just Bigfoot, and then you've got UFO hunters, they're just pretty much UFO, but
But
is
you
there
got-
a lot of them that kind of encompass all three?
You kind of got Skinwalker Ranch, which kind of encompasses everything.
Yeah, paranormal.
Well, that's the
Caught on Tape.
first one that I've seen kind of putting the UFO and the paranormal
But
kind
they're
of one
mainly focused because of the location itself.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
again, that goes back to being a government testing site.
Right.
Well, that show Paranormal Caught on Tape, they do everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Extraterrestrial, paranormal, Bigfoot.
Right. That goes into what I just said, the guys of that it's not normal.
Not normal. Yep.
So it's paranormal. But technically, we do. I mean, we have done a lecture on Bigfoot. Have we ever got a lot of opportunities to go out and do any kind of investigation on that? Not really. It's really not a big thing in our area.
I want to go squatching.
I'd love to go squatching. And the UFO thing, it's like, that's a tough gig. Just go out every night and just stare up at the skies and hope you see something. That's a tough gig.
I mean,
We were getting called there for a while because of something else that's military technology that we're not supposed to talk about. Drones. That,
Yeah, it was just a couple years ago when they were flying them all over the place and people were seeing them. We were getting all kinds of reports about, there's UFOs, and they were UFOs because they weren't identified.
Exactly.
But we all know what it was. They were testing the drones out of Griffiths.
Right. Right.
you need to come down here and film it. No.
So,
You do that.
so in the grand scheme of things, do you feel that aliens do exist? They have been involved in the development of humankind, and they're up there watching us from some point. I mean, there's so many sightings, so many stories. So if you kind of take all the kooks out of it and the ones that can't really be supported, if you take a lot of that stuff out, then you're going to still have an abundance of people who are considered trusted eyewitnesses of something like this. Even the military, they've released military stuff, but why didn't the military ever release that before until now? They're releasing stuff, so that can't mean that's the only stuff they have. They're just giving us, they're bleeding it out a little bit at a time. They must have some pretty compelling stuff that they've just sort of.
well,
Project. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say Project Blue Book ran from 1947 to 1969, I believe. They found 12,683 reports of UFOs. Out of that 12,000 plus, 760 of them they couldn't substantiate one way or another. So there was like 760 reports. They said, we don't know what it was.
And one's in our backyard. Walesville.
Yep. I own a house literally 400 or 500 yards from that crash site.
Maybe a little known fact you don't know. Major Hector Quintanilla, or however you pronounce that, the guy in charge of Blue Book, was sort of, but not sort of, attached to Griffiths until 1968. He was assigned but unassigned. That was his official record. And then Blue Book went into the Condon report and all that. It ended. But why was he here? Dr. J. Allen Hynek was on the base many times. Dr. Valet. And then you were talking about the Nazi technology. Dr. Van Braun. That was me a couple years ago. Started that crap when it was all over the local radios. They're like, Dr. Van Braun was in Rome at Griffiths? But there was the guy in charge of the Nazi technology, which became NASA. So, I mean, whatever started there just transferred right on over to us.
The Nazis were into everything, man. They were into, like, the occult, trying to do alien stuff. I mean, they were into everything. Hitler basically was determined to take over the world and come up with some type of weapons or that just were not, typical from a foreign country, so that an invasion would be so much simpler to go in, and flying saucers, or wielding the spear of Satan or something. It was just
Spear of Destiny.
They're just into a lot of weird, wild stuff that they dug up from those guys.
But if you look at the Nazis, were actually, if it wasn't for us capturing Nazi scientists and bringing them over here, I mean, they helped us with our atomic program. They helped us with our rocket program. They helped us with everything, the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
We grabbed all their scientists and brought them over here and said, well, we won't prosecute you unless...
They were part of the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah, I mean, so they really had... Yeah. They had the scientists, and they were pouring money into it, and they were figuring it out before us. We were just smart enough to grab them and bring them over here.
It's a good thing we stopped them when we did, because could you imagine if they had another 10 years to develop all the stuff what they could have possibly came up with? Not even 10 years.
They only needed months. They figured at that point. They were that close.
Scary.
We do have a couple of comments on here. We have Vicky saying, what about the testing sites on Newport Hill and Middleville? I believe the one she's talking about is the upside-down airplane. That's the radio transmitter.
Yeah, radar test sites, yeah.
And she also commented saying that Area 51 at one time was called Watertown because the guy that ran it was from Watertown.
Area 54 is the one you need to be worried about now.
Where's that one?
I know, but I'm not going to say it on air. I don't know, but I've heard rumors.
I zoomed in on you. Tell us. I want them to get a good look at you.
The dark web stuff, huh?
And then also we have a comment from Vinny Perillo, who said, I think Travis would make Valiant Thor proud, well-spoken with the topic.
Thank you.
Vinny, we missed you tonight. You were supposed to be here.
He got abducted. He was probed. So,
and then letting him watch YouTube?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
He is YouTube.
Give him something to do before we give him the second probe. YouTube?
So,
okay.
Newport, all of those. I'm trying to not have a stroke, but in 1990-something, there was a flap, which means a series of UFO sightings up north, and there were corresponding crop circles happening. I think up in Deerfield, Frankfurt. What's the hill where the TV station?
That's in
Smith
Deerfield.
Hill.
That's Smith Hill.
Right? Was that where that location was? There were crop circles that were showing up for a while. I don't know.
They weren't in Deerfield. I know there was one down near Richfield Springs.
Newport, maybe, I want to say?
There might have been a couple in Newport and Middleville area. But the one in Richfield Springs was on a sci-fi show called Sightings.
Then there have been a lot of weird sightings on Moss Island and Little Falls with the Brotherhood of the Snake, which is an alien reptilian bloodline.
In Little Falls?
We're probably old enough to remember the Marcy cattle mutilations that were going on in, God, what was that, the 80s or 90s? Late 80s?
80s.
I'm going to say that's the 80s.
And it was near, Near the asylum there, right? Up near the prison?
And Vicky just said, I know there was crop circles on Vickerman Hill Road.
Vickerman. Yep. Vickerman. One of those, yes.
Between Mohawk and Richfield Springs. Yep.
But they claimed a lot of those are just man-made?
And Vinny said, fair enough, they get stock in YouTube, they're always watching.
So he did want me to bring something up for you guys, and I'd like your input. So a few years ago, and I think we had talked about this back in the day, there was a 14-year-old genius physicist kid who came out and said when they turned CERN on, they fractured reality, and whatever was going to happen was going to be off the charts. And, you know, like everything else, oh, the kid's an otter, he's trying to make a name for himself, this and that. They're starting to talk about him again now. And it's like, but when you really think of it, when you go back to that 2014, 15, 16 period, and all of a sudden, like if Kevin called us up and told me that they found dinosaurs in Proctor Park, at this point I'd be like, okay. Like, I mean, we're so far off the norm mentally. I mean, I don't know how, this is what I was trying to get from you guys. Do you feel that? Like, we're no longer in a comfort territory. I mean, it's
Well,
like, I don't know what I'm trying to explain. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
think about it this
it's
way.
just not normal anymore. Like,
When did you first start hearing about the Mandela effect? Because I didn't start hearing about it until about 2012-ish. And that's when it was like everything from my childhood is like not what I remember it being.
mm-hmm. So you think they introduced that to remind you that you're in a fractured...
No, I think
State
they
of
might have
conscious, or-
introduced that to change how we thought something. It might have affected some of our memories, but they were probably targeting a specific memory.
As a lifelong wearer of Fruit of the Loom, I can tell you 100% that fruit was in a cornucopia. I don't care what you're telling me. I remember the cornucopia.
They had the commercials that way. Remember the guy had the apple core on his head?
They're like, no, it never existed. It's like, yes, it did.
You know, Mandela
remember
effect
the
or not, I
commercials.
remember the cornucopia.
The guy was the grapes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember seeing those commercials.
I remember the
And now they're
cornucopia.
saying what you're saying now is that that never existed.
Yeah. And my dad always never called it a cornucopia. He called it the Horn of Copernicus. That's the only reason it's stuck in my memory. But yeah, that's one of the
What's
the
another one?
logos.
There's a couple other ones.
Like
There's,
Berenstain
the
Bears,
Berenstain
Looney
Bears.
Tunes.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, what was about the Looney Tune one?
Is the way it was spelled with
Yeah.
two
There's
U's or
Looney
two O's.
Tunes as in cartoons, or Looney Tunes as in tunes the music.
Oscar Mayer or Oscar Mayer.
I thought it was Looney Tunes. T-O-O.
Looney Tunes, Tunes.
I remember it as O-O-N-E-S.
That's-
Tunes.
I remember his cartoons. That's
Yeah.
And now they're bringing in Kit Kat was spelled different. What the hell was another one I just seen? The apple cider thing there is Bragg, not Braggs. I always remember that as Braggs. I mean,
There's one. What's there one about the ketchup too?
you guys are music people. Queen. I always remember Queen ending with, "We are the champions of the world." They said it doesn't end as the world. It ends as "We are the champions."
Yep. And then it just, that's it. It's just music.
I remember it of the world. That's
Yep.
Time to wake
Vicky
up.
just brought in Kit Kat versus Kit Kat with a dash between Kit Kat.
We are the champions of the world.
Well, it's,
That's how they used to end it.
But they're saying that's not how it was written. It ended as "We are the champions."
listen. That's a core memory for me for Revenge of the Nerds. The end of it when they were saying
It actually, that might be, I literally just thought of that, thinking that might actually be where that started. Because at the end of Revenge of the Nerds, they actually said "of the world."
So is that who ruined it for everyone?
So they might have actually created that memory.
nerds.
Nerds!
Yeah, okay, we can go back and forth on that, but going back to the Fruit of the Loom, absolutely, 100%, unequivocally, yes, they were fruit. I remember seeing the
No,
commercials.
they're saying they're fruit, but they had like the cornucopia, the big horn of plenty that they were in, and I remember it specifically that they were pouring out of a cornucopia.
A question. Is this aliens doing this to us?
I don't know.
Why?
I really
why
don't anymore.
Why would they subtly screw with us like that?
I don't know.
They flash
They're just trying to get us
Make
back
sure
on
they don't
topic.
remember the Fruit of the Loom.
They flashy thinged us.
I believe that.
So you were bringing up previously about why is the military like allowing more and more stuff to come out? And just before the show started, I had brought up to all of you how about there's a TikTok time traveler who was talking about on May 24th of this year, he's saying that the aliens will show their existence to the world. Is this actually known by the government that this is going to happen, and are they trying to prepare us for it so that we're mentally prepared when it actually happens?
How are they preparing us?
by starting to release evidence a little bit at a time.
You know what? I think they would release something a little bit more
I mean, we still
concrete.
got 2 months.
Concrete than what they've shown us. I mean,
Well, I mean, it could
Well,
be,
I don't know. Do you trust the government to be that ahead of things? I mean, it would be like the day before. They'd
I
be
trust the
like,
government just as much as I trust TikTok. I mean,
well, if you look at this
So-
like CIA psyops, they never come right out and beat you over the head with it. They do little things to kind of.
yeah.
From Vinny. They changed the timelines to save Earth from destruction, but they didn't quite put the pieces back together in the right ways, in theory.
So maybe Vinny can chime in on this too.
That's a
lot of-
possibility.
A lot
Sure.
of new stuff coming out, and this is from someone who followed UFO stuff from being a kid. Alien stuff. UFOs are not the mode of transportation for aliens. There's more and more about this coming. They're using wormholes and they're just appearing. And if you read the story of Alien Thor, as much as we're joking about that, he had enough of our crap that one day at the Department of Defense opened up a portal and just walked right out of the room. The UFO stuff they're equating as our military stuff. That's all smoke and mirrors. They don't travel that way. There are also a lot of information's coming out that aliens or alien life are not violent. They're not capable of violence. They're not that they're that evolved beyond violence. They're just not geared that way. Only the human race is violent. That's why people come to incarnate into Earth, because this is the only place where that emotion exists in the dimensional world. So how do you deliver that to the people? And I guess this crosses over with what we were talking with Anthony last week. A lot of the cognitive dissonance, where people have been brainwashed to a point. Now certain people are waking up and saying, oh, as crazy as Pete is, I can see what he's saying. Or the other aspect of it, that guy's batshit crazy, and I'm never going to listen to anything he says. I don't know where we're at anymore with any of this stuff. It's kind of frightening. I mean, I think the information coming out now is more genuine, more honest, and more realistic and reliable than it was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I just don't think people know how to interpret it anymore, because even me, you, we've all been brainwashed into a certain...
Well, isn't that big?
Oh, no, aliens are bad. They're here to kill us.
Isn't that big antitrust thing about the government really come from the 50s and 60s?
Well, yeah.
Is that really where it's kind of
I mean-
stemmed? And then the generations before us, like our parents and grandparents, never trust the government. I mean, they're just so like anti-government, never trust the government. And it's like, and then I think a lot of the newer generations, I don't see that being like that as much.
No, I can
They're
see
not like anti-government, Like I remember, like my parents were and stuff. Like the government's, they're lying to you. I mean, they were like so deep into that theory, and obviously they must have been doing things that they shouldn't have. That were, But plus, the other thing is, if you go back, what was how much could you really know about what was going on? You'd have to read it in the paper, right? Okay.
3 days
or
after it
see
happened.
or see it on television. That is it.
But that's the thing. They can't hide it anymore.
Right.
I think that's where we've reached.
The internet was like the big blew it open, because now
instantaneous. If
Right.
something happens across the world right now, we're seeing it 2 seconds
It gave
later.
everyone a platform now.
Yeah.
The internet made all that possible. And now with everyone having pretty much video cameras and high-end cameras on their phones, they're taking pictures and filming everything.
Being able
Everything
to send it
is.
instantaneously.
Yeah, and social
around the
media
world.
is like, boom, somebody sees something, they throw it up on social media. They don't have to, inform the news channels or anything. You know what I'm saying? So
You can't
now
hide it, yeah.
Right. Now it's basically, we're in the information age where everything that happens, we have such a, like you said, a quicker response pretty much. It's like within seconds or minutes, we get it. You know what I mean? And more people now are looking for strange stuff. I mean, people are walking around all the time with this thing. As soon as something happens, they're like, and then everybody's house has got cameras. So something's going on in their house, they've got cameras. And they got cameras on the outside of the house. And like, for instance, I watched, what the hell was that special? You remember the guy that killed his wife and 2 kids down, I think it was in Texas or Colorado. He killed them in Colorado. God, what the hell was the name?
Was this a movie a couple?
No.
years ago,
This
or-
was
Scott Peterson? No.
No, it was one of these like Dateline kind of things. What caught the guy? It was the camera. The neighbor's camera filmed him at 5:30 in the morning going out into his truck and putting some stuff in. The neighbor's like, that's really unusual, don't you think? The cop's like, yeah, that looks kind of unusual. But that right in there is what made the police think, something's not jiving with this whole complete story. Just that little thing, somebody catching him doing something that was not typical of what he would do and getting it on camera. And that's how we're seeing things and catching things and solving mysteries and stuff, is that people are now seeing that video evidence on everything. You know what I mean? Before, what did we truly have before that? You know what I mean? Again, well, if the paper's coming out, you got to read about it, or maybe see it on ABC or NBC or whatever.
Pete's grainy iPhone 4 photo.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. But he could have just been telling us some bullshit story. But he actually took a picture. It is grainy, but he actually took a picture of something, right? 20 years ago.
I've always been reminded of Naked Gun, the movie, where the building's exploding behind him, and Leslie Nielsen, nothing to see here, please, nothing.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing that, like I said, the information age, and that's why I think the government's like, we can only hold this in for so long. Let's do it our way. Let's start leaking some shit. Oh, hey, here's some stuff. Oh, they're bitching again. Well, here's some more, But meanwhile, they've got like probably a data farm full of stuff that they're not.
I think people
writing.
are more accepting of the different stuff now also.
Right.
I think back in the 40s and 50s, no one believed. You had anyone that
Right.
talked about Roswell was a crackpot. That was a weather balloon. What are you talking about?
Well,
now
yeah.
it's more acceptable. We have TV show upon TV show. We have our groups.
And you're holding a supercomputer in your pocket. I mean,
Yeah.
So we've seen stuff become much more possible, and I'm saying we've seen people like we've got a probe that went to Mars. We've man on the moon. We have satellites floating around. So now space doesn't seem to be so
So far away.
That couldn't happen.
They got a balloon that's going up to space now. You can get a ride on. You see that?
Yeah. No thanks.
However, the pictures of Mars
Here we
are
go.
actually a colored picture of some mountain range in New Hampshire. Have you seen that when they lay them side by side and then they put the brown filter over it? It's the same landscape.
Well, they spent billions and
I'm
billions
just,
of dollars
like I
on
said,
that.
you're a
They had
resident conspiracist. I'm just...
And with all the, as we know, as we think as the truth grows, so does the conspiracies grow, hand in hand. So and it's as an investigator of anything, you can't look past the conspiracy theories. You have to look at them.
Absolutely.
You have to. I mean, I don't know how much merit you take in it, but you have to look.
You
at
have to
them.
question everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're the metaphysicians of the truth world. We have to put the weird theory out there for you to prove or disprove. I mean,
Yeah.
can I throw you guys on a quick tangent? I see Kevin's
go
looking
for
at
it.
the clock.
He's always looking. He's like,
I'm always doing.
So
I
I
gotta
know-
watch.
I can't wait to get out of here.
So I know
Todd's gonna shoot daggers at me.
last week I sort of bad-mouthed religion with the metaphysical.
You didn't.
Because the way you have to study that... Okay, so Vinny and I were talking about this over the weekend. What if the gods and stuff of the Bible are alien? They've been here. So let me just throw that out. But what I want to talk about, this is where things pull you back in. So if you're not familiar with the tree, there's the Italian. The tree Italian children at Fatima, where the Virgin Mary appeared to them and revealed 3 secrets to them. So they released 2 secrets, they sealed one, and the Vatican would never let the 3rd secret out. Okay. Just before she died, she wrote to, I forgot the name of the Pope, 1956, whatever, said what the Virgin Mary had told her. That's been misinterpreted. They've come up with different versions of what... Long and short of it is, basically Russia is going to be the one that's anointed to bring on the end. They are going to be the ones to purge Earth. That's going to be God's hammer to bring it out. That was her secret to that. So now we go into conspiracy land, and you say, okay, well, nobody's ever actually seen the letter other than the popes, and maybe Wednesday or Thursday, Pope Francis goes out there and says, in accordance with the girls of Fatima, I'm consecrating Russia into the Catholic Church. And it's like he just admitted to the third prophecy then. So it's like, what reality are we in now at this point? So now is religion actually a real thing? And you've been led astray? Is this just another wild conspiracy? Anybody who's been into like the Revelation studies, the end of the world thing, Gog and Magog, the fight that's coming, North America doesn't have any play in that. So we really need to tread carefully on what's going to happen. If that's a timeline that's for real and headed for the very near future. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the Fatima stuff, but, and this is a real thing. You go on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, you'll see the Pope. He consecrated Russia and the Ukraine. It's like, so he's giving them permission to carry out the will? Like, I mean. So then you go in with the Pope, the last Pope. There's a book called The Last Pope. There are the prophecies of a guy named Malachi, an Irish priest. He wrote down pretty much every pope that would live after him, right up to the last pope of the last Catholic Church. Last Catholic pope is known as Petrus Romanus, Peter of Rome. And Francis fits the criteria that he puts out in the Malachi prophecy. So, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there for you as a twist. What that has to do with UFOs, aliens, I'm done.
I mean, let's just kind of bring it back to a comment that Vicky made, and you saying that what if all of, the prophets and everybody were aliens? And that was, Vicky's comment is, hasn't there been a theory that aliens are actually humans from the future coming back to save us from ourselves? So let's take the last few minutes we have left. And
well, we're not doing a very good job of it.
Vinny, if you're out on YouTube, throw the link up on here for everybody watching. There is a leaked interview of us torturing an alien.
I think I've seen the one
You've seen that one? It's like an hour long where he proclaims to be humans from the future.
Yep, and that the world was destroyed by nuclear war.
Mm-hmm. I forgot what the year or one, but there was 50s or 60s or 70s. But if you haven't seen that, that's very weird. And the one phrase that always said, they're like, what destroyed the world? Dogma. That was his one comment. Vinny's out there. Find it, Vinny. Throw it up for people. Don't share any of that weird mafia music stuff.
No, so far you just made a comment and said, great show. My apologies for not heading out.
Whatever. So alien, religion, conspiracy.
All within the realm of the paranormal.
So the conspiracy theorists, if you want to show the warning thing again, all they keep saying is you're going to be shit-shocked and enjoy the show what comes. Excuse my mouth.
Well, with that, I think we can close off this episode.
We're shutting her down for another Sunday night.
Look at that. I got through without making a joke about Uranus.
Almost. This close.
So, again, everything we discussed tonight
Anus,
were all theories, not necessarily the beliefs of Disruption Network or the members of Agent Paranormal.
But definitely the belief of Kevin.
We want to thank you again for watching our episode here tonight on Sunday, March 19th.
Yeah. Like us on, 20.
Yep.
19.
Each got a
Where are
question.
you?
Aliens have a Venus.
With that, we hope to see you next time.
Like us on Facebook.
Like us on Facebook. Like Disruption Network on Facebook. Keep in touch. And we'll scare you later.